This exercise is step ups. It's a really good place to start with leg strength actually. Usually there's a bench, a tree stump, maybe a chair or something you can do it on if you don't have actual sort of benches and steps in the gym, so it's very, very easy to improvise. But it's also a really good starting point for strength. Let me show you a rep or two and then I'll talk about why it's a good starting point for strength, and also we can have a chat about kind of some of the coaching points. So it's as simple as this. Foot is on something, and you're just going to step up, drive forwards basically. So just do a couple of reps. Since I'm doing the reps, let's talk about the coaching points. Number one thing in a lot of leg strength is we want to have our weight distributed across like the whole foot. In a lot of exercises, the common mistake is to lean forwards over the balls of the feet. So you see it when people kind of almost like ski run their squat, leaning forwards, when they're lunging, leaning forwards, you see a lot of that. But actually, in those sort of movements, like in the step up, in the squat and everything, you're going to have your hips back and your weight is going to be distributed so that you're right across the middle of the foot. Even in the step up, you can start to kind of get to understand how that's meant to feel. The reason is that the pelvis here is going to be your driver. The floor isn't going to go anywhere, so when your leg strength works, you get that force from under your foot, behind your pelvis, drives you forward, and then when that happens, you go up. But really, in a way, that pelvis going that way, that's your drive. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a simple exercise. So, in some ways, you don't need to hear all of this, you just need to step up, right? But, because it can really inform how to squat well, it is useful to talk about. Because when I first start training someone to step up, I use that moment to try to get them to understand where the pressure and strength should be on their foot, and how they're really meant to feel the driving force being the pelvis and not the knee. So a lot of people, if you watch, it might be hard to see, but what you'll see is a lot of people are really shoving the knee back in order to get up there. But if instead you try to sort of feel like your weight is on top of your pelvis and you're going to use your strength down through the ground or through the step to push the pelvis forwards, that's it, correct. You see that driving force. The mistake you often see is when the knee is the driving force, right? You see that rounding back, if I exaggerate. So sort of really feel it coming from there. We've been in this game for 10 years or so, and even really, really subtly, you can see when someone's knee is really dominating something. Like you sometimes get this two-phase movement, like leaning in, yeah, there's the knee, and then up comes the body. What we want is this kind of movement where the whole of the body's all going to work together, so not two phases. Without over-labelling it again, it's about pelvis. And the reason for that is that the whole leg can work. If you've got good heel pressure, you'll get good glute activity. If you're leant forward, you're just going to get quads. So even when people first start doing stepping up, I start to teach them, not all at once, like we're trying to do in this video. The luxury of being with someone is that you can correct one thing at a time, live with things that are harmless and correct something else later. But since we're here, all at once, looking at this video, then we're talking about it all. So it's a dead simple exercise. But if you can get used to that idea of whole foot and pelvis as driver, that's great. Upper body, get used to having the shoulders back. Yeah, and when you get up here, get used to getting a bit of a squeeze here, good posture up there, and you'll feel your whole leg work. That is step ups. I know it's simple, but the reason why we've got into all of that is that if you are on a journey and later you're going to want to squat a heavy bar, then we're going to want to keep your chest up and the bar right over your torso, kind of really over this strong lever here, and we're going to want to use the floor and the heels to get that pushed through so that you're not leant forwards, you're not all over quads only. So it's worth talking about because it is a really good starting point. Other things to think about with step up are the height. So people can have quite tight groins, and again, this is typically something that you use as a beginner. And so as a beginner, you're potentially more likely to have a tight groin. Don't go too high. So the height of this step is fairly moderate. You can see that I've got a pretty straight line. But if you're particularly tight, then you might start a little bit lower. Shouldn't feel discomfort in the groin. The other benefit of step-ups is often for that same reason with tension, like sometimes people's glutes and hamstrings can be really, really tight. Lunges can be quite intense, and so they're not necessarily like as good a starting point as a step-up. It's a bit case by case. but it's a beautiful first exercise. It really informs everything from squatting and deadlifting. So even deadlifting is the same. So I was demonstrating squat, wasn't I? But if we look at deadlift, it's the same thing basically, where your heels, whole foot's down, pelvis is the driver. So the things you're doing in the future, if you can learn what to feel, where to drive from, it's going to serve you well. And then, for any of you who just looking for a leg strength exercise, but perhaps a bit more advanced, you want to move it on, here's a challenge for you, is we're going to introduce a bit of balance. So once you get up there, we're going to come up and balance, and we're never going to touch this foot back down. So we're going to come down, we'll feed our hips backwards, careful on your balance, start to get quite low, chest up, but you never touch down, just going to go straight back up. Yeah? And then get there, fill your balance out, feed yourself down. Notice that it's that same thing with the pelvis, so I'm not feeding forwards on the knee, the weight's going back, that hips travelling behind me a little bit, down towards the floor. I can get as low as I can, and then through that heel and back up. Step up, loads of extra info. Yeah, YouTube, subscribe, we'd love you to. Instagram, follow, we'd love you to. And on our website, loads of stuff, food, exercises coming up.